Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the T.O.P. podcast. Thanks for joining me on this Monday, February 11th, 2019. How's everybody doing? I'm doing not too bad. I just getting over a cold, a little nasally, but feeling a lot better. So, yeah, it's not that big a deal. On the way to the studio today, it finally snowed. For the last 2 weeks in Vancouver, they've been talking about snow. We haven't had any really this year. 2 weeks ago, we had a light dusting. They were saying it was going to be a huge storm. They called it Snowmageddon. A week later, same thing. They said it was a big storm coming. There was a little bit of snow. But today, it started coming down pretty good. I think it's -5 or something. It's not really super cold. And it's not really windy either. You know, there's a bit of wind, but it's not bad. So I grew up in Ontario, and I'm used to this kind of weather. But here, it doesn't snow like the rest of Canada. It doesn't really get cold. Friends of mine moved to Winnipeg, and they kept posting different weather things, and it gets down to -33, -45 there, like real cold. Frostbite, almost instantly kind of cold. So Vancouver shouldn't complain that much, really. But this little dusting of snow can really shut the city down, which is hilarious to me when you grow up in it. But anyway, enough about the weather. I wanted to talk about today's show. It's going to be really good. I sit down and talk with Giovanna Vargas, a friend of mine from back in the day, in my PA days, when we were doing production assistant on a couple different TV shows and I think a movie. We hit it off pretty good and hung out, and you know, she's really cool. So as you do in film, we kind of went our own ways in different shows, and haven't seen her in a long time. So this last couple of years, I think she's still working locations sometimes, but she's really concentrating on her documentary. And she traveled all over the world and worked with a guy named James O'Brien, who produced and worked camera and did a bunch of stuff. And the two of them put together this documentary called A Perfect 14. And it deals with the world of plus-size models. And it's a subject I'm totally interested in. My sister was a plus-size model for a little bit back when she was a teenager. And I kind of know a little bit about it, but she delves right into this, and I'm really proud of the success she's had. It's actually showing in Vancouver on Thursday, March 7th at 8:30 p.m., 2019. And it's going to be showing at the Vancouver International Women in Film Festival. So I'm really excited to see it. I've only ever seen things online. I haven't actually seen the full documentary yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. So this interview with her is amazing. She's a really good person, and I had a really good time. So here you go, Giovanna Vargas.
You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast.
I think people have to learn a lot and read a lot and watch YouTube, whatever they feel, to understand what really the film industry is, because the film industry is painted in a very glamorous way, but that's only for actors when they go to the red carpets. Even for actors when they're working, it has nothing to do with what they show in their beautiful photos with the beautiful dresses and whatever. So
they're on the Tonight Show, they're on the
so that's the cool part they like,
promotion,
but that's like 10% of what they do. All of us work really hard. So a lot of us, or a lot of people who are not part of this industry, have this fantasy that being in the film industry or even the TV industry, whatever, that is going to be this amazing dream, and they're going to be hanging out with these glamorous people. Actually, we all look like really funny when we're shooting. Everybody's like wearing black, and it's real hard work. And a lot of people get shocked when they go into the real world and see it. They're like, "Oh, I thought it was going to be different." Well, no, PAing is not
glamorous.
It's not something really glamorous, and it's a lot of hard work. But it gets your foot in, and it's amazing to be part of it. And then after that, it's up to you where you want to go from there. So yeah, a lot of people get shocked and they go like, no, I'm leaving this. But if you continue pursuing your dream, if that's where you want, then you're going to get to a point that you're going to love being there. It just takes a little bit of adjustment because it is hard. It is hard work.
It is a lot of hard work and a lot of standing and a lot of downtime. You have to fight boredom, and then you have to go like crazy when they say go, and also it takes some adjustment, but it's also eventually one of those things where you can make it or not. It's an endurance thing. For me, I was proud of myself after my first couple of days of PAing. When I was on my feet for 12 hours and not being able to sit down, to me that was just mind-blowing. I'm not supposed to, no one's supposed to do this, right?
Yeah.
And that was a short day on rap. I think it was a rap day. It was my first day. So
Really?
It was one of those things where I was blown away by I could do it. And then when we went to set, it went way longer, and then it just got more and more. And it's the passion that you have to have in order to do that.
Exactly. So what show did you start with?
I started doing background on a movie called The Watchmen.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was a graphic novel comic book, I think from the 70s. And I thought it was really cool. And then when I started doing it, that was the first time I've ever worked in film. I used to be a forklift driver for 10 years before that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, in a warehouse. And that was my life. And then when I started this, a friend of mine had done it. And that's when I first got I got misdiagnosed with just vertigo. And back then I had to stop working. I couldn't drive, and I had to stop forklift driving. But I'm a go person. I can't sit on my hand. I can't just sit there and do nothing. So my friend said, try out background. See if you can do that, because it doesn't take much work. You just show up, and even if I have vertigo and I'm dizzy, I can just sit there, and then it's not really that much. It's not really hard. So I did that, and then I met PAs who do both. And then they double booked and got me PA work. And then eventually I started doing PA full time and did background for fun once in a while. And the vertigo and dizziness went away, and I could drive and ride a bike again. And then I went headlong into it and went full on into film. And did a bunch of indies and worked at a studio. I have a long history.
You were busy all the time. You were always working. Remember when I met you? And then you were on the side. You were doing other projects.
Yeah.
I was really inspired by you when I met you.
Oh, that's great, because I'm inspired by you, by what you're doing.
Thank you.
You've done so much
So have
since
you.
I've seen you.
Thank you.
And
I remember how we always talked about our dreams when we were PAing, or things that we wanted to do. And I know you're a writer, and I was like, I want to write, and I always told you I want to write and make my own projects. And that was the reason why I came into the film industry in Vancouver. I was living in Toronto with my older brother. And then he got married, and he eventually moved here. But now he lives in Montreal. But I always told my brother, I wanna study film. This is why I came to Canada. And everybody in Toronto kept saying to me, if you want to do film, you need to go to Vancouver. And I was like, really? Vancouver? Why? And they're like, what? That's where the industry is. That's where all the shows go to. And I had no idea, right? So I was like, wow, interesting. And then I remember Radiohead was playing when they came out with this album, Rainbows. Is it Rainbows called? Something like that. One of the most amazing albums. And they were coming to Canada, and me and my friend, a guy from Edmonton, we were like, oh, we need to see them. We'd never seen them live. So we couldn't get tickets in Toronto. He was going to fly from Edmonton to Toronto and hang out with me and watch the show. And tickets were sold out within minutes.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
Radiohead.
And he's like, I'm going to try Vancouver. Vancouver is really close to me. I know it's far to you, but we might be able to get tickets.
Oh, so that's how you got here?
Yeah, the first time, just to visit. And then I was like,
Thank you, Radiohead.
I know. And I was like, okay, so... I'll try Vancouver. And we found tickets and we came, and that was my first experience in Vancouver. And when I came, I was like, oh my God, this city is amazing. My friend only could stay for 2 days, and I stayed for a week on my own, and I explored the city, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know about film or whatever, but I want to live in this city. And yeah, that was my first experience with Vancouver. And then I moved eventually, like after a year or so.
So yeah, we should start with your history then, because where do you come from? Where were you born?
I'm from Colombia. I was born in the capital, in Bogota.
Bogota, Colombia. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And have you always been into film?
Well, I
Or how did you get into film? Like, what was your driving force?
I have a journalism degree in Colombia.
Okay.
So I went to university. I was very young because we don't do college there.
Okay.
Here you guys do college and then university. In Colombia, we don't have that. Some people just wait a little bit or do some courses before they enter university. But if you know what you want to do after high school, you just apply directly to university. And they are very hard tests and stuff. But if you're good, you pass them, then you're good to go. And I always liked studying. So I was very young and I entered university. I think I was one of the youngest in my class. And
wow.
I was really young. But I was happy. I loved... the reason why I studied journalism is because my dad started suggesting it to me. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but he always said he recorded me when I was a little girl because I like to talk a lot. So he used to record me on like cassettes and stuff. And one day he sat with me. He started showing me this. He's like, come on here, I'll show you. And we started listening to these cassettes, and I was like interviewing him, and I was like 7 years old.
Wow.
And he kept like recording me. He's like, I think you liked the he said that to me. I think you like the entertainment world. I don't know what you think. Why don't you think about something related to communications, something like that? And I was like, wow, you're right. And I started like thinking. He didn't pressure me, but he kind of like gave me the idea. And then I started thinking. And I was like, wow, this is a really cool idea. I should definitely try that. And I passed to that university, and I got a degree in journalism. Then I moved to Bogota because the university I was in another city.
Oh,
I was born
see.
in Bogota, and then my father had his work sent him to another city. That's where I did university, and then I went to Bogota, and I started an internship in a smaller channel called that you guys have here too. It's called City TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was smaller there back then. I was able to do it because they had like a partnership with the university that I was at.
Okay.
And the ones with good grades had a possibility to be interviewed to start an internship there. And I applied because I had really good grades. And
what did you do for the internship?
I work in Match Music. So
Okay.
So here you guys have a channel, or I don't know, or before you guys had a channel called
Match Music, yeah.
Match Music.
Right.
In City TV Colombia, Match Music was a TV show part of City TV.
Oh, I see. It was together.
Yeah, so it was every day, like an hour or something. And
music videos and that
yeah,
kind of
it
thing.
was that's probably when I started like enjoying so much about visual work, right? So I
Right.
wasn't doing much journalism. I was a production assistant, completely different kind of job
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what we do now here.
Oh, television production assistant's a different
It's
story.
different
Yeah.
now. It was completely different, and then I started, and then it was a very like young kind of like cool environment. We would get together and plan what the next show would be about, and everybody was allowed to give ideas. And they started making these little promos where they would like talk about special artists that were because all the music would come from Canada actually.
Oh, wow.
All
yeah.
our footage would come from Canada.
So it was all English.
It was we young people in that age in that time of our lives we would listen to only rock and English music.
Yeah?
Over there, yeah.
And was City TV, how was it mostly all Spanish?
Yeah, but the show was like obviously we would like feature a lot of local bands,
Right.
but people wanted to hear Jane's Addiction, Radiohead, all that era, right? So they were like, okay, we're gonna start making some promos for these little features of Jane's Addiction and whatever. And I gave an idea about one promo, and it was like 30 seconds, and they're like, whoever has an idea, just let us know. And I came out with an idea, and I was like, oh, why wouldn't do this and this? And they were like, wow, this sounds really good. Why don't you like direct it? Go out with it. They were like,
they asked you to direct right away? Oh, that's awesome.
it was a really small show,
Yeah,
right?
but still.
They were really cool like that. They gave people opportunities to be creative, and obviously they brought the camera guy and everything. Everybody was like, oh, I was being supervised.
Yeah. It wasn't
making
like you'd go do it.
No. I was being supervised. but they let me try, and they loved it.
Nice.
I actually went into the editing room with. That was my first experience.
What
with,
was the idea? What it was?
Back then it was kind of cool because what we did is we put the hostess of the show. So we went through the city and we shot a bunch of billboards. And then in post production, we put the hostess and we shoot with her previously, obviously, sitting in different couches and very very colorful. So we would move in post production. So we would move her from billboard to billboard, and she would be saying whatever she had to say about the promo, right? Like, oh, Jane's Addiction is coming tonight on our show, blah blah. So she would be jumping from billboard to billboard. It looked really cool. Now it's like everybody uses that idea, but back then it was kind of cool.
And it was new, yeah.
Yeah, and they loved it. They loved the idea. It was simple, but I did it, and then they started giving me a little bit of more of that. Like I would do once in a while a promo and stuff like that. Then eventually, my mom lived in U.S. for a bunch of years, for 15 years, and eventually it sparked in me the idea of I wanna go and learn English, especially because when I was working in Match Music, they needed a lot of all the footage would come from Canada in English. They have a lot of people who spoke English and they will translate it, right?
Yeah.
And I always felt like I couldn't be useful in that sense because I always had to look for somebody. If I had footage and I had to be helpful, we needed to put out something. Let's say like an artist was saying, "Hello, Bogota, blah, 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 I'm here, I don't know, whoever from
wherever,
whatever,
yeah.
And hi everybody, blah blah blah, whatever. I couldn't translate even that. Sometimes they needed people to translate these little things so they can put it in the show right
So
away.
you didn't know English at this point?
No, in university we had a course, but that was nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't know English, so I felt really bad. I didn't like that part because I felt and the other guys were really cool. They know English and they could translate it, and they were more useful. And
right.
And I hated that. And I said, well, my mom lives in Boston. Why don't I go there and stay for a little while? I had a visa, like a temporary visa, so I convinced my mom. She was like, "But you're doing well there. Well, come here, but." Just come here for a couple of weeks or a month and do a small course. But you have a good job there. I want you to, start venturing again. And I convinced her and I went never went back to Colombia, actually.
Oh, that was it?
Yes, that was it. And then in Boston, I studied English and I was a little bit afraid of speaking and stuff. From Boston, I moved to Canada, and this is just because I had a friend who was going to film school in Toronto. And I met him in Boston. His girlfriend lived in Boston, a Colombian as well. And he went for visiting her, and she was going back. He was going back to Toronto.
Right.
And then when I talked to him in Boston, he's like, "Yeah, I go to school in Toronto. Blah blah blah. Canada's amazing." In U.S., as everybody knows, it's really difficult to get a permanent residency or that.
Oh yeah, if you're an immigrant in the U.S., it's
everybody knows
nightmare and a fight.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And long periods of time of waiting and all that.
Yeah, my mom was in that process. I knew it was going to take years, and maybe she would never get it. And I was like, I want to study film, because when I started doing these little promos that I was talking about before, something sparked in me. I was like, wow, I want to create visuals, and I really have this passion for creating visuals and thinking about ideas of thinking about the host is being put in this billboard, and those little things are so cool to even these small little things are really cool to create, and that got me the idea. I want to study film.
Exactly the same thing with me. I was almost in tears the first time I was on doing something, and I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's when you can tell.
It's the passion. It's the inside, like the fire's lit or something.
Yeah, that's when you can tell this is my passion. This is my passion. And I became really strongly about it. So, so I went to Boston, and when I was in Boston, I was like, okay, my English was okay, but I kind of want to, study film. I cannot do it in Boston. No with a working visa, whatever. So I was like, I want to do this. And I was really young. I like the part of traveling and moving to places. So
and learning the new area.
Yeah. So
before we go further, was there a difference between, because Boston is known as being a racist place, and when you came to Canada, was there a huge difference in the people and the way they treated you and reacted?
Yeah,
and
well, I do know.
I'm not saying everyone in Boston's racist. I'm just saying it's
No.
known that that's the case, right?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And some people, I don't want to generalize because there are amazing people everywhere in the world, but yeah, there were some snobby people there, right? And my English was very poor, so it was so. And the problem with Americans is that they don't have patience because they are surrounded by all these amount of people that speak all these kind of languages. They live with them. Actually, it should be the opposite. It should be more
accepting and
because that's where they live every day. But some of them have no patience, so it's really hard. Now, so yes, I found a little bit. I didn't feel 100% comfortable there. So I hang out a lot, and that was also my fault. I hang out a lot with Colombians. There's a big Colombian community. There's Spanish communities everywhere in U.S. So there was a big Colombian community in Boston that I became part of, and they were my friends. I would hang out with them. So when I would go out to the white world, let's say, to call it some way, it was really hard for me. And I felt really uncomfortable. But that wasn't the case when I came to Canada. When I came to Canada, I went to Toronto first, and I felt like home right away. People would talk to me, and in Toronto, people would talk to me in the streets if they see me looking for something. My English still was very poor, although I did a full year of studies. But I was really afraid because that's how in U.S. people made me feel to speak, that I became really afraid to speak English, right? But in Canada, everything changed. People were
they helped.
Mocking me for making mistakes, which you obviously are going to do if this is not your first language, right?
Hey, if I had to learn Spanish and talk in it, everyone would laugh while I talk.
Yeah. But Canadians, you guys are amazing, and I started making friends right away. It was just my older brother and myself here. And I started making, all my friends were Canadian. Everything became the opposite of the way I lived in U.S.
Wow.
I became to immerse myself in the culture. I started speaking the real street English, like the one that is going to teach you, the one on the streets where you talk to people about every kind of topic. And it was really hard still in the beginning because when you're learning a second language, there is only so much you can do, right? When people start talking about really specific kind of topics, you don't understand anything, although you speak the language, because you're not yet completely immersed in the culture to understand what they're talking about.
Or if they talk too fast.
And so then you're like, okay, now it's my time to be quiet. I have nothing to contribute to this conversation. That's not the case now, obviously. I've been in Canada for more than 11 years, and this is home. This is home as much as it's Colombia. I love Canada, and I love Canadians, and this country has brought a bunch of opportunities to my life, and I love it here. I love it.
I'm so glad. It was my wife is from Brazil, same thing.
Yeah, I know.
And she talks about how there are little like in Toronto there must have been a Colombian group of people that they like a community where you hung out or whatever.
It's huge there too.
But it's more accepting by everybody around. It's not just like she lived in New York and New Jersey, and she said there was a Brazilian community, and they all talked Portuguese to each other, and that was it. Yeah. And then if you ventured out, no one did, and you were looked at as a Mexican. Everybody below the American border in America, she said, is considered a Mexican. If you're Latino, you're Mexican. That's it. It doesn't matter if you're from Colombia or Brazil or wherever, which is weird to
Sometimes
me.
they even ask you, like, where are you from? I'm from Colombia. So you speak, what do you speak? Spanish? Like, it's funny because it's like this thing that I think... It bothers me because I think, like, how don't they know? But at the same time, I think, okay, well, they don't have to. But at the same time, well, of course you should know that people, if you read, if you study, you know that in South America, people speak Spanish except for the Brazilians, which obviously they speak Portuguese. But
everyone thought she spoke Spanish because of that.
I know. It's even harder for her. At least for me, if I said, no, I'm from Colombia, they kind of know. But they assume Brazilians speak Spanish. Some people do, and it's like, oh wow, you're like, really, you live under a rock.
Well, is that something that Canadians seem to know a lot more too? Here I am just praising Canadians.
Obviously, well, I can say obviously, but Canada is a completely different country, but I have found people that still ask me if I'm Mexican, which is if you think about it, you shouldn't ask somebody, are you Mexican? If you don't know, just ask where they're from, but don't assume they're Mexican because they're short and black hair and they look Latin. Obviously, I look like a Latina. I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud of like having an accent. So when I speak to people, immediately they know I like most likely I have a Hispanic heritage, right? And I'm okay with that. But yeah, if you call me Mexican, I have nothing against Mexico. Mexico is one of my favorite countries in the world. It's beautiful.
But that's like calling a Asian person, say, oh, are you Chinese, even though they're from Korea or they're from Vietnam or something.
Millions of whatever countries.
So yeah, you can't just assume like that. Anyway, enough with the racism. So yeah.
No, but you're
I'm just intrigued by it because I know that America and Canada are very similar, but in that way, very different.
Very different. It's a huge difference. So I guess obviously, as you were saying, your wife noticed the difference when she came to Canada too, right?
Oh yeah, massive.
Yeah.
There are still some. Racism exists everywhere. It's not just U.S. Yeah, there is in Canada. There's racist people, but she noticed a huge difference in how people were more accepting and walking down the street or talking to people in the store. They're not snubbing you or oh, you're not Canadian, so get out of here, kind of thing.
Oh no, you don't feel like this here, and I bet some people have I had a few experiences in the film industry where but that comes with being a Latina. Mm-hmm. Being a woman who speaks English with an accent. So I have all of these things with me that for people who act like that, for people who are, I have found a lot of people being condescending to me on set.
Okay.
Yes, and discouraging me, and I do hate that. Yeah. And it that happens a lot here too.
But that also happens with just PAs. Forget Colombian. They're like straight out PA. They treat you like crap. So
I have all these things on me. I'm a Latina woman, a PA who has an accent. I do find that a lot. What I can tell you, though, is when I started PAing, the industry was a lot different. Now they have all this bunch of younger people, not necessarily in age, but mentality has changed a lot in the industry. I don't know if you remember, but some transport people in the industry can be really rude sometimes because they work really long hours. They're always tired, and they have worked in the industry for like 35 years. So
I know a guy in his 70s doing transport.
Right, and they feel like this is their territory, so they feel entitled to talk to PAs really badly. But it has changed a lot.
Wow, because it's been a while since I've been on set.
Yeah, so I think if you go to set now, like a completely different set, people you don't know, you're going to see people acting a lot of different. And a lot of rules have put in place because people are speaking up for themselves a lot more lately.
The Me Too movement has moved into the film industry.
It's beautiful. I think it was a necessary thing, and as much as people think it's too much, it's for something so radical to change, or for something to change radically, like as we need the industry to change, we need radical movements to make that happen. If we have really live movements that didn't do like extreme work, we will never get there, right? So radical movements need to be put in place in order to change all ways of seeing things, like the way we see women in film, and I'm so happy
it's spreading. It's getting way bigger now.
Yeah, and now people on set, even, which is another bad thing, some men make jokes. Oh, I guess I cannot flirt with you. Well, you cannot treat me like you cannot treat me like
an object,
and you can definitely like, of course we're still humans, and humans like each other, and those things are still happening. It doesn't have to be that way. But if you don't know where you can get to, like, if you don't draw a line, if you don't know how to draw a line as a man on set, then you have a problem, not us as within our movement. You know what I mean?
And then they get themselves in trouble. It's not that PA caused them trouble. It's the other way around. But they feel entitled, so they feel like they're the ones that needs to get away with stuff and be in charge. But a lot of that I wouldn't acknowledge. And there was, when I started on Arrow, it was funny. I started on Arrow and they said, oh, we got to carry all these garbage bags. It was the end of the day. They said, we got to carry these garbage bags a block down to this dumpster and throw out all the garbage from set and everything. And there had to be at least over a dozen full garbage bags of catering, crafty, all this kind of stuff.
And they have to be like walked, like you guys have to walk with them.
Yeah, and they're all the PAs. Hey, let's all gather. We grab 3 bags each. We walk to the dumpster and whatever. And I go, what are we waiting for? Because I just started. It's my first day. And they said, oh, this is what we do. We always do this. And I go, why don't you just ask transport? Oh, we don't talk to transport. They're mean. I'm like, really? I'm like, give me a sec. I walk over.
I love it.
I walk right up to the co-captain of the show. I'm like, hey, how's it going? We talk for a bit. And hey, do you mind if I throw all those garbage bags in the back of your pickup and then I'll just chuck it in the dumpster when we get there? No problem.
Of course.
He loved me right away. Boom, he pulled up. I chucked it all in his truck. We went down. I dumped it all out. And then all the PAs came out to carry the garbage. They're like, where's the garbage? I'm like, I took care of it. And then from then on...
That's how you do it.
The communication between transport and PAs got better and better on that show.
Yeah, but that's because you see that's the way you are. You're more like a.
Well, I'm not afraid.
And your personality is more like a leadership type of personality, right? So you always take charge, but a lot of PAs are like that. And
they'll sit back. Oh, so what are I gonna do?
It's frustrating because I deal with that all the time when I work on set with the new PAs. It's like, oh, please go ask this person to do this for me, please. And they're like, no, but I don't want to talk to them. It's like, no, well, I know you're new, I know you're young, but you're kind of going to have to learn because...
Well, stand up for yourself. It's one of those things...
And the industry we work in is... you got to have thick skin. There's no other way.
Oh, it is. But you got to stand up for yourself in the sense of they'll ask you to do dangerous stuff. Stuff that's not illegal, but dangerous. You shouldn't stand on the tracks, say, the train tracks, or you shouldn't... There's certain things you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And if it's too dangerous, say straight out, I'm not doing it. That's dangerous.
Yes.
And they can't make you.
They actually respect you for that. They actually
do.
They might say, and they might get upset, but they go home and they realize this person knows what they're talking about. And I have to step on my game. I have to learn what are the things that I'm making PAs being put in a dangerous situation. It's actually something that you're teaching to the ones that are being the leaders to you, which is really, really extremely important. I don't know if you remember the story of the woman in U.S., the camera person that died in the train track because.
That's why I said train tracks. Yeah.
It is a big story.
And then was a security guy? He got killed.
Here in
Falling
Vancouver.
Skies here,
Yeah.
A truck rolled back and sliced him in half with oh my God.
It was so bad.
Brutal.
Our industry is full of like a lot of danger, if you want to call it like that.
Heavy equipment, stuff. You just got to you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing with Supernatural when we started on that. The PAs kind of talked to the transport back and forth, but since I started doing prep, I started talking to them more. And they would deliver stuff, and I got to know them, and same sort of thing. And then they would try to give me grief about not knowing things where I wasn't on the tech survey. I didn't watch what's going on. You were. How do you know where everything parks? I don't know where it parks. What are you asking me, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And when I stood up to them, then they respected me. It was the same sort of thing. As soon as I said, hey, buddy, don't give me a hard time. This is your job. He laughed, and then right away I'm their friend.
Yeah, you know how many times I have had to do that with people because they think like, oh, this woman, this short woman with, whatever, and they speak, in a condescending way. That's how I feel it. I stand up for myself many times to many people. And some of them just never talk to me again because they hate me after that. And some of them respect the fact that I am that person.
And your friend all of a sudden, and then, ask Gio.
Yeah.
So that's all everywhere you work, though, I think.
Well, that's it. If you call it, that's how kids should be taught in school when they're being bullied. I mean, of course, don't stand in front of people, start fighting back because that might be against you. But if they are raised in a household where they're taught that confidence is important and raise kids with confidence, when they go into the world, they're gonna know how to stand up for themselves. And the same problem situation with the Me Too movement. I think we have to raise little girls to be confident in themselves. So when they go out into the world, a person who's going to rape you is going to rape you regardless. But that you can do the most you can to not allow people to walk all over you, especially in the situation of like a big Hollywood producer, and you're a beautiful. Beautiful
and you're
young
Harvey
woman.
Weinstein, and you're invited up to his hotel room.
Well, he took advantage of like young models wanting to become actresses, or even like Salma Hayek spoke about it. Really, she wrote an amazing article. I don't know if you read it about her movie Frida, which she was like a producer of it too.
Oh no, I never read that. Okay,
so,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, so Salma Hayek had a lot of problems with him. And the problem is that they admire him so much because he was a god in the industry. Everything he touched would become gold. Like he was amazing at picking up projects, and that was like his amazing part of him, right? So she admired him and was like completely honored to be working with him. But then when she started knowing everything that he wanted from her, she couldn't believe it, and she didn't know how to act. But she stood up for herself, and she never let him take any advantage of her. But it was really
total
hard.
Respect for that, because I think it's hard when you start, because so many people are deer-eyed or doughy-eyed, where they're all like, I don't know what I do, and they will do dangerous things, or they do weird sexual stuff, like with, I'll give you the job or whatever, I'll ruin your career if you don't. But she went on without doing anything, which is great. He didn't ruin her career. She was so talented. It just
kept going, and she was able to. The movie was able to come out, an amazing movie, and she was able to learn from that. And she said she would have never worked with him again. Obviously now nobody can, because now he's out in the world to be. We all know what he did. Yeah. I had a really terrible experience when I was in Boston. I was bartending. That was my part-time job there, where I was going to study English, ESL classes. And I met this guy from a very, very important Spanish television channel called Univision. Okay. It's probably the most important television channel for the Spanish community in U.S. And, well, he told me he was from, and he was definitely. He's like, I'm from Univision. He was sitting in the bar, so we started talking in Spanish.
In Spanish, okay, yeah.
And then
he was a Spanish guy.
Yeah, he was from Peru, and he looked really important and stuff, with his phone and all busy and stuff. And he invited me to.
And you're all mesmerized because you were like, ah.
Yes, because I told him that I was working City TV. I come from the TV background as well myself, and he's like, wow, interesting. He's like, and me always like in the hustle, I was like, oh, I would love to have an opportunity to start working here, because I just come fresh from doing a couple of years in CDTV, and it went really well. I have a small but good resume. And he's like, oh, why you don't come to my office? He gave me an interview, and I went to the I was safe to go, because I checked, it was the headquarters of the.
It was actually in the offices and stuff.
It was in Boston.
It wasn't a casting couch kind of thing.
No, well, anyway, so I went to his office, but that was my mistake there. That's when I didn't do right, because but still, I wanted to see if the opportunity would come out. We talked in the office. He showed me the offices. I gave him my resume, and then we talked for a little while, right? He actually introduced me to a few people from his office, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, well, and I said, okay, but the interview was done, and I said I was going home. And he said, where are you heading to? And I said, where I'm going to East Boston. That's where I lived.
Right.
And then he said, okay, I'm going that way. I can give you a ride. I should have said no to that, because that's a red flag. Like, it's a person that you just met. It's like an important.
But you talked for an hour or something, so he thought he was like you felt a little more comfortable. You thought, okay, this guy can't be bad.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you shouldn't do it. Anyways, I did it. I said yes. And in the car, in the vehicle, he started trying to touch my lap, and he started telling me all these things. And when there was like a red light, I opened the car and ran away.
Oh, wow. Jumped out because he was
Yeah.
being creepy and weird.
Yeah, I don't think the guy was going to actually act on it in the moment.
Like,
but,
not rape you, but,
No, but
he was
he's-
creepy and weird. And
Yeah, but he was sexually assaulting me. That is called sexual assault. You're
That
trying to
is.
pick up a woman that you just when I need, or you were
Like, it's-
using her.
it's one thing to
He was
flirt.
he was never going to give me any job. He always had in mind to start hitting on me. That was his thing.
Right.
It was one of the worst experiences. That's when I said I don't even want to try this again this way. I want to come up sure with a big resume and to talk to somebody. But it's always that stuff is always going to be there. So that's why the Me Too movement is essential that we have. I don't care how much some people hate it and think that we're ruining careers, because a lot of people have their careers have been affected because of that. Louis C.K., the guy from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, yeah.
Right? There's a bunch.
Well, Bill Cosby is the...
Bill Cosby is the
pinnacle.
The big. 'Cause that's been going on for years.
He was the father of America and turned out to be a perv, which is just...
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's crazy that all these years, most of people would know about the Harvey Weinstein problems. His friends knew he did that, and nobody spoke against him because he was huge in the industry.
And they were afraid he'd ruin their career. And...
They would have. At this moment, there is nothing that, it's done. But in that moment, if somebody spoke out, they probably would have been out of the industry immediately. He was so powerful. But yeah, so that movement is beautiful. I love it, and I think it's important.
Yeah, it is important. I obviously hate that people take advantage of it and use it in order to manipulate the system and get away with something that they falsely accuse people. And I'm not saying that anyone is falsely. I'm not pointing it out or saying you did this, you did that for anybody who's in the Me Too movement, but I've seen it too, and I've seen people lose their lives over something small that happened 10 years ago. That Kevin Hart thing, that was a recent one where it's so PC right now that he said something homophobic 10 years ago, and he came out to apologize for it, and it was a tweet. It wasn't even on stage doing stand-up. And he was on Ellen talking about it, and he's like, listen, I was young, immature, I said something stupid, I apologize for it over and over and over, and now I can't host the Oscars because of it?
That's I agree. I completely agree with you. Because if I go back to myself when I was like way younger, I would watch TV shows that now I watch them and I'm like, oh my God, how did I ever laugh at this joke? It's really racist, or it's really homophobic. But this is why we all grow as a society, right? We start understanding these things are wrong, but all of us at some point, or most of us at some point in our lives, made a joke about a gay person or something like that. Nobody can tell me they have never...
Or I've been misogynistic and said something bad about women when I was younger, and then, oh shit,
but
now I think
because
I'm
it is
stupid.
a big personality and it's put on Twitter. And no, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Well, the internet, that is what really happened.
Yeah. But it's important that we set up boundaries. It's that's not definitely something that should be acceptable. The way he wrote, whatever he wrote, it was terrible. But yes, it was back then. He was young, blah, blah, blah. I completely understand that because we all made those mistakes. But we set up boundaries as a society and we say, okay, just so you know that's not acceptable now. Well,
it wasn't acceptable then. It was just not known because the internet now, you can't get away with it because all you have to do is say the guy's name. Well, obviously I don't want you to say it on here, but you can say the guy's name and ruin his career because of that with the internet. It'll go worldwide and anyone deals with him when you did what? Yeah. And then all these other girls will come forward and then boom, it'll be the same thing.
I could totally do that.
Destroy the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know, but there's also this big discussion about how to separate the art from the artist, right? So,
right.
And I have a big, I go back and forth on that a lot because I was a big fan of House of Cards, where it's one of my favorite TV shows ever. It was impeccable. His acting was impeccable. It was incredible.
It's not just that, too. All the other stuff, Usual Suspects. There's a whole bunch of movies where I'm just so encaptured. He's an amazing actor.
He's an amazing actor. So how do you... Because people say, oh, no, but if you don't support his work, then he's not going to be able to continue doing these things because he's not going to be in the industry. But at the same time, how, like, I love that actor. I love what he did as an actor, you know?
Yeah, so to separate the thing, same as Louis C.K. I loved Louis C.K.'s comedy, and then when that came out, I was like, what? And now I'm supposed to hate everything he did, so it's separating the art from the artist.
It's hard, though. It's hard because...
It is.
Because you go like, that's how they make a living. Should they be allowed to make a living in the industry when they screw up so many people? But at the same time, I enjoyed their work so much, and they are extremely talented. So it's difficult, and I understand.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein made some amazing movies.
Well, he was all the executive producer of all Tarantino's movies. Pulp Fiction, like every good movie that you can think of, he was involved.
Yeah.
He's a genius mind when it comes to producing, and nobody can take that away from him. But his personality was getting in the way.
But his penis messed it up.
Definitely.
But I also think with that casting couch thing, it exists in modeling as well. I've known a lot of people. Oh, this guy, like my sister one time said, oh, this guy's a photographer, and he said come to his house and he'd take pictures of me, and I'm like, don't go.
No, that is a red flag.
Yeah, and it's not just film. Or lots of the situations where people have celebrity stars in their eyes and they want to run to the thing, but really, you know, and these creeps and these people who are manipulators, they know this.
Of course.
So they take advantage of it, and then
Of course they do. They know they can do it. They know they're going to get away with it. The problem with them is they think they're never going to be caught, and they will. All the people that do wrong, at some point in their lives,
karma
are going to be caught, because you can't just get away with screwing people. Like raping somebody is literally ruining their lives for a long time until they can recover somehow.
Bill Cosby got away with it for so many years because he was so rich. I think if you have, and same as Steve, Harvey Weinstein. It's one of those things where if you have tons of cash, you can get away with it for a long time, but not forever. It didn't matter how much cash they both had. It eventually came out.
Yeah.
You know, so
they manipulate. They get extremely talented lawyers to work their case around. Their managers go and talk to people. Well, if you speak about this, you know what's going to happen.
Or
right?
Harvey Weinstein had his own private eyes, like totally
Really?
studying, following people, and doing all this kind of stuff. Crazy.
Oh my God!
Just because of that, just because of his dink.
And it's so funny because you're not enjoying your life anymore at that point. You're just like getting like all panicky all the time about what is going to happen and when it's going to happen. So what is really the point? But again, I think those people are always going to exist. And the discussion here is how we're going to make our women, which are the most affected in this case, to grow up more confidently and to being able to stand up for themselves as much as they can, and maybe minimize the way that a guy can mistreat them. I mean, as I said before, when somebody's going to rape you, they will do it anyways.
Well, this is a topic I actually wanted to talk to you about because it's because you're a woman in this industry, you know what I mean? And to see all this kind of stuff come forward, I would never see it. I'm a white male. I don't know, right?
Of course.
But not just being from another country, just being a woman in this industry is you got to be pretty tough, and it has to be a passion, because I'm sure when that happened, you probably questioned even getting involved in this industry. You probably thought, "Oh my God, what am I doing?"
The problem is like when you have this drive about something you love so much, you still want to do it no matter what. It is tough. Like I always like question myself a lot when I have to deal with a bunch of people when I'm working on a set or dealing with a bunch of crew, because I don't know how they're going to treat me, but I just know in my heart that what I'm doing is with passion, and that I am going to do it well, because whatever you do with love and with passion, you're going to do it well, and you're going to, or at least it's going to show that you care. So you always have that tool in you, right? When people see passionate people, driven people, they respect that. So at least I feel that I have that, and you do. I can tell by just working with you. Forget about all of your other creative endeavors. Just by working with you, I know that you're really caring and involved in what you do, and you give it the attention that it deserves. Oh, thank you so much, Mike. I had a great time working with you
back
in the days when we worked in Supernatural. And as I said, I always admired you, and I knew you were involved in many things. You were trying to write. I think you were starting to write, not the book that you wrote, but you were writing something else when I met you.
One of my many scripts, yes. And
Yeah.
writing was one of the things where I didn't realize that it was a passion of mine and something I wanted to do. And after I wrote my first script, I was like, well, this is something I get involved in. And then it became, how I knew it was a real thing was I'd sit down at 8, 9 in the morning, start writing, and I'd look up and it's dinner time. And I literally felt like an hour.
Oh, that's when you know that's what you made for.
And directing, I directed a short one time, and I had the day before I had fallen off a ladder 15 feet and landed on my shoulder, had stitches in my heel. I was messed up. I was limping with crutches. But the next day I had to direct a short, and I just kept going. I showed up in a wheelchair. I had someone show up and wheel me around, and I directed from a wheelchair and a crutch.
Oh my God!
They couldn't even believe, but the pain went away because I had so much passion. And then when it was done for the day, it all came back. But while I was in the midst of actually doing directing and that kind of thing, that's how you tell. That's how you tell. When it takes away the pain, takes away time, takes away everything, you just get so involved and so focused on what you're doing.
Your body and your mind is all with it. It's all with
Or
what
editing.
you're doing.
I don't know if you had the editing thing too, where you sit down and you're like, oh my God, it's been 6 hours.
I did edit before I started working this big project. I edited like a few trailers for my friends for their short films, and
I saw that on IMDb. Yeah, you had a few editing credits, eh?
Yes, I do have. Because I always wanted to edit. It's something that I always wanted to do in school. I was like so worked up. I'm like, I want to do editing. And then our editing teacher was really, really good. And because I didn't see it that way back then, but now that I'm directing, it's so important that you know editing, because your workflow is way better because you know exactly what you need, and you know how an editors are another, like they are called the third writer, I think. So first is the writer itself, himself or herself. Second will be the director, and the third is the editor. Yeah, because they literally have to rewrite the movie with the footage they are given. It's an amazing.
Yeah, they are artistic.
It's an art.
Yeah,
it's an art, and it's beautiful.
It is. It's one something I did that I didn't know I loved as well. And once I started doing it, it was, you get so into it, and that's the same as writing, same as directing almost, because it is an art form and you create a story out of the footage.
Absolutely.
So I've actually a couple of my shorts I actually made jokes or made it funny because I edited it the way I edited it. Like the way I cut the scene or whatever.
Change, yeah.
It's even though he wasn't, the actor wasn't trying to be funny, the way I put it, it seemed funny.
Yes, you can really manipulate stuff through it.
Oh yeah, and tricks and stuff. Yeah. Or take footage from another time.
Yeah.
And then put it in there. Oh, that's perfect. It looks like he turned around and saw the whatever, and that was a totally different thing.
I loved once was listening to that podcast about the director of American Beauty, right?
Okay.
An amazing movie. Mm-hmm. And American Beauty, on script, looked like a comedy. It was written to be comedy.
Oh.
You can see a little bit of dark comedy. You can see a little bit in it. But it's a very dramatic, deep, strong movie. And when they wrote it, the director said it was like a movie meant to be funny in a dark comedy kind of way. But when we edited it, we found a completely different movie. When I directed it towards being that. But when we started editing it, we found a different movie. We found a more a deeper movie, a more like message kind of movie.
The comedy went by the wayside. It was like 1/3 or less than the movie. Because there's comedy in it, but it's not a comedy movie.
No, it is not. And all the comedy was taken away, and they found a new movie. And that was all through editing. And I was like, I couldn't believe, because that's one of my favorite movies. And I was like, I don't know if I would have loved this movie if it was a comedy. So it was a pretty smart decision what they did in the editing room with it. Yeah,
it's amazing what you can do, what you can manipulate with the footage and whatnot. That's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got off track here. I want to talk about when you came to Vancouver. So you went to the Radiohead concert, and it was a year later you moved here. And what was the first thing you did when you were here?
So the first thing I did here is that I had to wait for my I applied to become a resident. So in that way, I could study. I could apply for a student loan. Studying here is expensive for me, so I did wait a little bit. So I did a couple of like bartending, serving jobs.
Okay.
While I waited for my residency, always like thinking about ideas and projects to make and how excited I was to go to school and stuff. I continued working with some friends from Toronto and helped them produce a small. It was supposed to be a short film. It became well longer than that, and I was doing some work from here. That was the only thing I was doing back then. And I did a little bit of editing too. It was like mostly like fun for me, right? Kind of thing. Yeah. I did an editing course in Emily Carr. That one I could do without my residency. I pay for it myself. When my permanent residence came, I applied for Langara. Mm-hmm. As I said, I went to Langara College and did an intensive program. It was an amazing experience. I learned a lot and was able to...
How long?
It was 9 months.
Okay.
And I was able to make my own short film.
That was a project?
Yeah, so everybody could... was it everybody that directed it? I don't remember, but I got to direct my own, and it's on YouTube. It's pretty fun. It's
what was it called?
It's called Dream While It's Free.
Oh, I saw that. Was that on the IMDb as well?
I don't think so. No,
maybe you told me about it, but yeah, that's familiar. But I'll check it out. I don't know if I've watched it. It's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it is on YouTube. You should check it out. I like it. I thought it turned out really, really good, and the concept that I had came through completely, so it was cool. And then I left the school, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Like, what is my next step? So in school, they talk about PAing. They said that's a good way to start and to get to know the industry, all the things that we have talked this morning, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. I knew nobody except for my friends from school and my teachers and stuff, and they did give us a little bit of like recommendations and things, but whatever. It's mostly what you do for yourself, right? So what I did back then is I started calling the production offices. So I went into the production list.
Smart.
And I started calling and literally saying, can I talk to, and I would look for the assistant locations manager name, and I would ask for them, and they obviously would be like, what do you need them for? And I was like, no, I would kind of lie. And I said, well, I did talk to them before, and I forgot to tell them something about my resume, so I want to update them. And
right, just to get in there, right?
Yeah. Most of them wouldn't pass the call to them. They would be like, no, sorry, just send your resume through our email.
Right.
But I had a couple of people that, like, I guess they were
just
like...
patch you through?
Yeah, they were like, okay, fine. And it was so funny because Once Upon a Time, I called to Once Upon a Time in the right moment. I called and the person from the office said, okay, and then they transferred me to the ALM, and I say, hey, my name is Giovanna, and I explained everything to them, and I would love to PA whenever you need me. I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And I have experience in TV, blah, blah. And so me trying to, speak up.
Yeah. Promote yourself. Yeah. Promotion.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were like, and the guy was like, can you actually work now? And I'm like,
today?
And I'm like, yes, of course I can. And he's like, well, yeah, because we had a no show, so we need you. And I said,
we're short-handed, which is the usual.
Yes, exactly. And he said, well, we're shooting in Richmond, because that's where they had this most of the shooting for Once Upon a Time was in Richmond.
In Steveston.
There you go. And then he said, but are you driving? I said, no. And he's like, okay, no problem. Just come to the office. And so he gave me the address. I got there. It was funny because I wasn't dressed up. I knew that I had to wear like comfortable clothes, but I look a little bit more dressed up than I was supposed to. He told me that. He's like, you don't have to come. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know.
You just want to impress, eh? You dress to impress, and then it's like, no.
No. First day I got it. I was like, no, this is the wrong outfit.
First day I saw PA in flip-flops.
I did see that too once in another show.
Or maybe we worked on the same show. Maybe that's
probably. So I got to the office, and they take me to the set, and that's it. I started there, and that was it. Through him, I got another contact, and I said,
and who was that, ALM?
His name, He's now in the Legends of Tomorrow. He's the A-Lam of Legends of Tomorrow now.
Oh, okay.
His name is, I'm sorry.
DC Legends or whatever?
Yeah, it's left on my mind right now, his name.
Okay.
But he was cool. He was the one who
Nice.
gave me a shot.
Nice.
He called me a few times back, but then I started working on other shows, and then not long enough after, I worked with you in Supernatural, and
Yeah.
that's how everything started for me in terms of starting to get to know the industry, right? So
And working a lot more, yeah, like
what's that?
working a lot more and getting
yeah.
more calls.
And I
Instead of
started-
just a day call, you're like,
Yeah, but in the back of my mind, I always had this desire to create my own projects. I feel like I can do it, or I felt like I could do it, and I always wanted to do it. So every time I saw people working on set in the labor side of it, I was like, I love this. This is amazing, but I want to be. I told you that a lot. I said I want to be part of the creative part.
yeah, you don't want to be props, you don't want to be lighting, you
I
want to actually go into writing and directing and
create,
creating. Yeah,
create whatever that means, right? Yes, exactly. So I was like, I gotta find another way. This is good, but this is gonna take too long for me to actually take me to where I want to go. So
you didn't want to get complacent in one job because the paycheck's good, and then
it takes all, as we were talking before, we work 15, 16 hours a day. It takes all your time.
yeah,
When you go home, you only want to sleep, or you only want to watch TV. You want your mind to be completely shut down. You don't want to, and your body is exhausted. It's hard for a person who works in the industry as props, as a lot of them still do their own independent work, but it is hard to keep up with.
oh yeah,
It was my decision. I said I did work for a couple of years as PA. It was an amazing experience. I met an incredible amount of people. I met you. I met a lot of people that I'm still friends with, and it was amazing. I'm never gonna forget the first part of my life being a PA and doing it all on my own. Like, as I say, I have my younger brother, and I can tell him where to go, where to work. I found him working
what
Flash,
to do, what not to do, lots
where,
of stuff.
where
Yeah,
to study. Like, I can guide him, and he appreciates that. When I came to Vancouver, I was on my own, and then
yeah, exactly. And you didn't know English 100% either, right? So
And then exactly, and then in school I met one of my best friends now. His name is James O'Brien, and we became really good friends. He's a very talented editor, an amazing producer. He did it all on his own since he was young. He did the first radio station on the internet. It was
Wow.
It's called Rand Radio. He was a very successful guy. When he became a little older, he decided to get away from regular 9-to-5 jobs because he did everything on his off time, like editing and learn how to edit, and he did shows with his friends, everything as a hobby back then, right? But one day he said, no more, I want to take this seriously. I've been editing
as a job, yeah.
I've been editing for 10 years for fun. I've been doing all this. I'm going to go back to school. And I met him there. So I met James, and we became friends. So as I PA'd, I would meet him several times a week to hang out, to watch movies together, and to talk. He's my favorite person because I can talk to him about anything related to art, and he gets it. He has this passion for art himself too. So so we would meet up to talk. I wrote a short script and for a short film, and I showed it to him. He liked it. We started working on that, and we had a couple of ideas. So we would meet up, have coffee, talk about ideas, read our scripts, watch movies, fill ourselves creatively, per se. And so I said one day, I'm just going to stop PAing. This is not working for me as to what my goals are. And I went into becoming a server too. I said, I'm going to find money, whatever it has to be, but I'm going to have a job where I have more free time, as no like a 15-day kind of job. I'm working as a server.
I did the exact same thing, going into an 8-hour job.
Yeah.
Which was still good pay, but it still was nothing compared to the industry, the film industry. But yeah, whatever. It was still gives you more time to do work on your creative projects.
Exactly. So it was a hard decision to make, but I did it. And I became a server in the Vancouver club. Here in Vancouver, made good money. It was a private club with members, so it was rich people. Tips were amazing, and it was funny because when I was in the Vancouver club, once upon a time came to like for a tech survey, and I met the ALM the first day.
Oh, that hired you?
Yeah, he was there.
Nice.
And he's like, Giovanna, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry, I'm done for now with a PA. And he's like,
They filmed in the Vancouver Club?
They did.
Oh, wow. Because I've done lots beside it, like that little area.
No, they did actually film there.
Oh, okay.
It's funny because the general manager came to me. I didn't think I had talked to him much, so he didn't know my background in film. But he came to me and he's like, Giovanna, just make sure that these guys from the film crew don't come into the main restaurant. The main restaurant is where all the members would sit down for lunch, dinner, have wine,
right.
whatever. It's like, don't let them cross to the main
to
restaurant.
the rich people.
because they look pretty bad.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we all look like undressed for any occasion.
Oh, I've been up for, I can't sleep at all, like 3 hours a night for the last week.
Exactly. So I was laughing because I knew what exactly he was talking about, and of course it's very snob, like it's a very snob environment and whatever. I did have a great experience there. I definitely one day want to include that in one of my scripts. My experience in the Vancouver Club was very unique.
Yeah.
But okay, so one day I went for a run. So I started. I became everything that I couldn't be when I was in the on set. I started running, exercising, being healthy, eating well. There's a lot of things you cannot do when you're working on set because you have no time.
Oh, yeah.
So I started running, and I became really, really obsessed with it because it felt so good. So my free time, I would do that. And one day I was running, and the idea of A Perfect 14, which is a documentary I wrote and directed, came to me. The reason why this idea came to me is because when I was a server in another restaurant a long time ago, when I just came to Vancouver, I met a woman, and she was a server too. She was this beautiful, curvy woman, right? And she always talked at work that she wanted to become a model, and people would laugh at her, like in her,
because she was voluptuous and she didn't.
She was very voluptuous, very beautiful, very beautiful.
But she's not a toothpick like the rest of the.
She's not yeah, exactly. So people laugh. People will laugh at her, like behind her back, right? It's like, oh, she wants to be a model, like what? Like what? Anyway, so we became friends on Facebook, as you do with people that you meet, and keep friends on Facebook. And actually, she started modeling for local brands. It took her like 3 or 4 years after that, obviously. And suddenly, she opened this Facebook page. Her name as a model is Ellie Mayday. And then she started modeling for the local brands for curvier, to sell curvier sizes, like from 14 up, which is the plus size in the industry. And she was beautiful. Like I would look at those photos and I was like, how can we never see these images on a regular basis in our daily lives when we open a magazine, or let's say nobody buys magazines, but when we open Instagram, we never see that.
Well, there's one thing too where it's like, you're beautiful or you're not. If you're beautiful, you should have the opportunity to just show it.
I know, right?
It doesn't matter what you weigh.
And
if you're beautiful, you're beautiful.
How many women, when they're younger, they wish they could be models because they like that idea, but they can't. They cannot even dream of. Anyway, so I just became obsessed with her images. Her images were professional. She looked like a model, but she looked like a different model, of course. And I loved that. And then one day I was running, and I just came up with this idea. I was like, how cool it would be to make a documentary about plus size models. I
was blown away that it hadn't. I haven't seen it before. I was like, wow, this is a really good idea.
It's the first ever film about. They have made films about body positivity, which is people accepting their bodies, and there is a couple of films. One it was made in New York. That includes plus size models. They all came in production. They came after hours, but the two of them that started after hours had bigger budget. They were shot in New York, and the two of them were released before Hours. But Hours is the first documentary ever about plus size models. This all their documentaries.
It's just included it.
It's a part of it, but they
Right.
talk about transgender models,
Right.
models with disabilities. Ours is the first one, and it still is the first one.
Specifically about that subject, which is great. My youngest sister was a plus size model for a
Really?
few years. Yeah, and that's why I was so intrigued by this story.
Wow.
She was, I guess she was a teenager maybe, and she did for weddings, wore wedding dresses, this kind of thing. And
That's so cool.
she never pursued it. She never got into it. She didn't really like the
It's
industry.
hard.
It is hard.
It's
Like,
very hard. It's very
yeah.
hard.
But that wasn't her thing. But it was one of those subjects I was really interested in because, wow, that's really cool. And what I noticed was this took you all over the world.
Yes.
You traveled to all these cities?
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
We did. So what we did is, so I got in touch with my friend from school, James, and then I said, let's make a documentary about plus size models, and he was immediately like, oh my God, that is so cool, let's start on it. So I called Ashley, the model that I made as a server, and the one that definitely inspired this film. And I talked to her about it, and she's like, let's do it. Let's definitely do it. I'm completely down, of course, right? So we started locally. We started shooting in Vancouver. There is a big community of pinup modeling here. So these women dress like in the 50s, and their makeup is perfect, and they do shows here in Vancouver. There is a big community, underground community of pinup modeling, plus size models. Because in the pinup community, it's a lot of curvy. Because back then, curvy women were the actual desire for men. And
up to the 60s and 70s, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So we started shooting with these girls, and through Ashley, through Ellie Mayday, I should say, we started meeting all these people. And then I started investigating. I became obsessed with this topic, and I was like, we have to do this. And the idea started taking form, right? So every time we would go to shoot here in Vancouver, they would be like, oh my God, you have to go to Toronto. They have all these agencies.
Wow.
So the community started guiding us through this process. Me and James have no relationship whatsoever or background in the fashion industry. He's a white man that does his editing work at home. I am in the film industry. I'm nothing to do with fashion, but it was a topic that as storytellers we were really interested in approaching, and we did. And we checked. You're right. My friend James checked on Google. He investigated, and he's like, this is incredible. There is no film about plus size models ever made.
It's amazing.
And then he's like, we got to do this. And then we started. And then, people started guiding us through this process. So there was a competition in Toronto through this documentary film festival called Hot Docs, which is really big. And they had this competition in which you could send 3 minutes of footage of your project in production, and they would select the best projects and the best projects would go and talk to they would set up meetings, 15 to 10 minutes meetings with financiers and investors, right? So
you do your pitch.
So Netflix, all kinds of, and we got selected. We went to Toronto and we did pitch to them, and it didn't go that well because they like mostly to support filmmakers that have already made some big work, because they don't want to lose their money, right? They're like, these new people, are they gonna really follow through with this huge project? It's a huge undertaking. If me and James would have ever known how long and how hard this work was, we probably would have never started on it. I don't regret any second of this experience, but it was a hard project to make, and it was only the two of us working this. So when we came back home, we decided let's do a crowdfunding campaign. It worked. We got some money through it, and then James himself financed the rest of the film himself with all his savings. So we traveled and so as I say, the community started guiding us. When we went to Toronto, they're like, oh my God, you guys have to Montreal. We went to Montreal. Oh my God, you guys have to make it to US. That's where all the big models are. And it's true. They're all in New York, and it's a huge industry there. It's professional. They are celebrities. They're gorgeous. They're these tall women. You look at them, and they're like really curvy, but you look at them and you're like, this is a model.
Right.
I don't care that she's like a
but
like
she's
a stick
over
thing.
14. Yeah.
They were
a perfect
beautiful.
14 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, because and we called it a perfect 14 because from 14 size is where the industry defines plus size.
Oh.
So 14 and up, so 14, 16, 18, that is all plus size.
So if I ever see the plus size model, it's over 14. That's just a given
well,
in the industry.
it's a given. A lot of them are smaller than that, but that's just
Right.
another issue in the industry. But there's many.
Oh,
issues.
so if someone's 12 or whatever, they pass it over until they.
Oh, they put partying on them.
Oh wow!
You have to watch my film. I'm not going to tell you all these
Yeah,
things.
no, I'm going. Yeah, I'm excited
because
to
it
see
is in the film. Anyways, so yeah, we started traveling. And we went to U.S., went to LA, went to New York, and then we made it to Europe. We were there in like 6 countries.
Wow.
We went in Germany, the Netherlands, France, England.
Australia. Did you go?
We went to Australia because one of our main models in the film is from Australia.
Wow.
Very successful Australian model. Australia has a huge plus size industry.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
surprising. I didn't know that either. And all of this we found out through the community. The community definitely made this film possible, guided us completely, and helped us and supported completely this project. We put a trailer that is still up on the internet. It's just a teaser trailer. It's not our
No,
official
that's all.
trailer.
Yeah.
And this trailer went all over the world. It has like almost 500,000 views on it, and we had articles in every, like in the Huffington Post and the all kinds of UK, Australian, American, Cosmopolitan, Vogue. We were written everywhere just with the trailer because people were so excited about a film about plus size
Dedicated
models
to that, yeah.
that everybody in the industry, even from the fashion industry that is very snobby, everybody supported us all the way through. And
I'm amazed about how big it is around the world because I didn't know. I don't know about fashion. I don't know about that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I just know my sister did it, and I know it's a thing in North America. I thought because North America is the only thing I hear in the media and stuff. But I didn't know. You went to Spain? You went to Madrid?
we went to Madrid. Yeah.
Oh my God! How was that?
That's right. We went to Madrid. Oh, Madrid is amazing.
Like that?
Yeah. Our Australian model had a cover. She was given a cover for a massive magazine there, and they were shooting her in Madrid in this beautiful mansion. And then because we were already in Europe, it kind of worked for us. And then we went to shoot with her in Madrid.
And you went and met up with her. Wow.
Yeah, no, we did work hard, and we made sure that it represented the community well. This is a very big community on the internet. It was born in the internet, as many things, right? And it's a group of women that now is huge. It's a huge movement. It's called Body Positivity. That's
Okay.
Body Positive. That's the name of the community, of the movement. And they all believe that we all have to respect everybody's bodies as they are. If people want to be healthier and want to eat better, want to exercise and want to lose weight, it's fine. If people don't, it's fine too. We have to respect. You can't. We have a lot of problems with trolls on the internet going to troll some models' photos and you're fat, you're a pig, blah blah blah. You need to lose weight. It's like you can, or there is worse. People go like, I'm so concerned about these people. They need to lose weight. It's like, no, you're not concerned about a stranger on the internet.
Yeah.
You are literally a troll.
Yeah.
And nobody.
You want attention because your words. Not even your face is up
Yeah.
there. Whatever.
So this is a very essential movement in the world because it helps us to grow, being more confident. It's helping younger girls to grow confident in themselves. Now, a lot of younger girls are not that afraid to be curvier and dress fashionable. It's just doing a lot of amazing things. We still have that mentality, stuck in ourselves that beautiful people are supposed to be skinny and blah 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 and tall.
Well, yeah, but that's the media, and that's the thing. And now that the internet's come out, I think a lot of these things are growing because of that, because information is going around the world, and everyone's understanding now. Oh, not everyone is a size 2, and
that would be really
wears high heels.
That would be
everywhere they
really
go.
boring if that's the case. Actually, the fashion industry became really boring because all you could see is this type of model that they are beautiful women, and it is they never gonna go away. It's not like now the industry is gonna be taken over by curvier models. No, the skinny models are essential to the industry because they show the garments without people being distracted by the body, right? So that's one of the problems with the curvier bodies. Like curvier bodies require a lot more work for the garments to be designed, and for fashion shows.
And people notice, yeah.
And people notice more of these bodies, and especially because we're not used to see them walking down the runway. So this is important, it's essential, and I'm really happy I worked in it. It completely changed my life, and as I see myself, as I view myself, as I view my family, as I view my friends and the people around me. Now I look at images on the internet and of curvier women, and I think they're beautiful, and I think they're very amazing that they're contributing with this important message to the world that we all have to respect ourselves, and that we're definitely
and accept people
so much than our bodies.
I grew up with it because of my sister obviously was plus size model, and I've been around people trying to break into this industry, and I also knew other people that worked in the skinny modeling, and how hardcore it is.
It is hard for them too. It is crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of people
rejection is like
rejection is number one, and you wouldn't believe how unconfident these beautiful women are. These beautiful models. Because they get rejected all the time. Not because they're not beautiful, but because they're not right for the project. Or
because they're standing beside 10 other people that are just as beautiful and just as
and they have done a lot more work.
Yeah.
A lot more goes into now. If you have followers on Instagram, they like you more. Because it's easier for the companies to sell the product with a model that has 10 million followers on Instagram than to a model that has 200,000. You know
promotion.
What I mean?
Oh, it's easier to do promotion. It costs us less money. Yeah, we'll go with that.
And with a photo like that, we're going to potentially be seen by millions of people.
Right.
Of course, we're going to go with that. Anyway, so it's a lot of things that are, but modeling is changing too. Models are becoming.
Everything is changing. Television is going by the wayside.
Yeah.
Everything is becoming a lot more apparent, and a lot more information is being spread around the world.
That's
and
for sure.
That is great. In all those cases, the Me Too movement, the plus size model thing. There's so many different things that just basically everyone kind of ignored, but now you can't. It's everywhere.
You can't, and you shouldn't, because think about it. When people start getting used to see, when they open their Instagram and they're looking at their feed, and they not only see perfect models on like ads or whatever, but they see all kinds of models, and they get used to that. It's going to become something. Our minds are going to adapt to the fact that we're all different, and we don't have all to look like a size 0 because we can't.
Yeah.
Basically, people who look like that are this small portion of the world, and that's why they are called models. But there's also the other side of the world, which is how most of us look, which is normal, or let's not call normal, but like we need a different kind of representation as women and even as men. And so this movement has brought that to the world, and I'm so proud to be a small part of of this, with my film.
I'm extremely proud of you for getting doing a project that received awards. This received awards where you got.
So we went to Miami.
The FIC.
No, we went to
Miami Fashion. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to Miami Fashion Film Festival, one very prestigious festival for fashion films, and we got an award as the Founders Award. So the founder of the festival awarded us because she thought it was an outstanding project.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And then we went to Mexico. We have been traveling the world now, showing our film in film festivals. That's the first phase of it.
Right.
And we won in Mexico recently, actually a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome.
With Best Feature Documentary. That was amazing. We couldn't believe. And I have another announcement to make, which is we're going to be in Vancouver International Women in Film Festival.
Nice.
So yeah,
that's big here. I know that from my experience in.
So it's exciting for me because as a woman filmmaker, this is incredibly important. This platform of being in this festival and being able to show my film there and talk about all this that I'm talking to you
and the
about
connections
today.
they have. If you, being there, you will obviously spread the word even more, which is great.
And it's amazing because I did a private screening last year, and I invited a bunch of people. A lot of them could go, but it was on the 30th of December. And now I'm going to be able to show the film to all of you guys here in Vancouver. So I am really, really excited to be able to show the film here publicly.
Nice.
It's around March 5 to 10. I don't have the exact date, but whoever is interested in Vancouver in this topic and wants to see this film, you would be able to see it. It's in the Van City Theater for this festival. Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Thank you so much for having me in your amazing show. And I think what you're doing is amazing to give us like a platform for us to speak about our projects and have a little bit of more visibility, because of these projects are important. I'm sure you're going to be talking to a lot of cool people too. So, no, thank you.
Anytime you have something down the road, let me know, and then we'll set something up.
Perfect. That sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a great interview. Giovanna is one of the best for sure. She didn't know exactly when her film is going to show in Vancouver, but it has been announced now, and it is the Vancouver International Women in Film Festival at the Van City Theater. It is on Thursday, March 7th at 8:30 p.m. So do yourself a favor and go check it out. If you want to check out more of what she did and stuff online and check out their website, it is www.aperfect14.com, and check that out as well. Next week, I sit down and talk with Milton Ng, and he is a local filmmaker who worked as a grip for years in the industry, but he left it to do full-time independent work and has done tons of stuff and is working on a feature film right now. So I have a really good talk with him. You guys have an incredible week, and I will talk to you next Monday. All right, take care.